call the meeting to order at 5:36, and I'll move on to roll call. Alejandro,
Here.
Eric,
Here.
Joey,
Here.
Edgar,
I see him. There he is.
Monica,
Here.
Dane,
Here.
Aubrey,
Here.
Josh,
Present.
Lacey,
Here.
Greg,
Yo.
Jess,
Here.
and that I'm here, so I guess unexcused would be Cece and Alex. So there we go. All right. With that, we'll move to agenda approval. I guess all those in
I move
favor
to
go over
approve
the
the
agenda.
agenda.
Huh?
I move to approve the agenda.
All right. Eric moves to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second by Edgar. I guess all those in favor, just raise your hand. Sweet. Yeah, and then Alejandro, you can just talk if you need to.
Yeah, in favor.
Sweet. All right, so moved. We'll now move on to approval of the minutes from the 20th. Do you all have access to that?
Yeah. So moved.
All right, Eric moves to approve the minutes.
Second.
Edgar seconds. All those in favor, just raise your hand. Sweet. And Alejandro.
Approved.
Sweet. All right, so the minutes are approved. I'll go into reports. Not too much to report over here, but I know Joey has something to report about the subcommittee update.
Yeah. And so with that, I know when we met last week, we kind of did the last kind of debrief on the subcommittee that's been working throughout the year and some of the recommendations. And we have the two different documents that are going to be shared with the committee next year. And then I know that Eric and Jess volunteered to kind of touch base with me as well to work on finalizing some other recommendations to the committee for next year. And so we met earlier today, and we're going to have another follow-up, just kind of finalize things. I'll send them the notes. And really some of the recommendations that they were kind of outlining for the committee next year to consider, I think is right in line with the conversations that have been happening both in the overall committee as well as the subcommittee, is really recommending to the committee next year to look at supplemental requests for travel if we end up having travel allowed in general, but looking at either a new or different process for travel requests that's a little bit different than some of the other supplemental. Given that there's a few different recommendations that they put out there talking about whether or not to set limits per person or per request, whether to have some separate budget pieces, but really kind of recommending looking at them and voting on all travel together once a quarter as a recommendation, really to continue to be consistent with that and to have the focus be on some of the other pieces. And then there were a few other just conversations we had about looking at all supplemental maybe and voting on the other supplemental besides travel once a quarter. Talked about base funding and some of the things we're putting into place as the advisors, Lacey and I, with the base funding request forms that we're revamping this summer, and talking about base funding areas, identifying their goals, how they're going to evaluate them, and then tying in those KPIs that the subcommittee worked on into how we're going to do that, and looking at how they're collecting metrics and data within that. And so I'm sending my notes out, and then we'll have a brief just kind of follow up once more before the end of the school year, just to make sure that my notes are not incorrect, given that not everyone is going to be returning next year, and we don't know who the committee is for next year yet either. I want to make sure that I'll be there, but that I'm not misquoting or citing anything. So we had a good conversation among that. And I do want to say thank you to Eric and Jess for today, but for Edgar and really pretty much everyone in this call right now has been a part of the subcommittee at various stages throughout. So I appreciate all the work you all have put into looking into this and trying to find suggestions and ways we can improve the process. Given our kind of shared experiences, I think it'll be helpful to the committee next year for sure. And I don't know, Eric or Jess specifically, if you all have anything else to add about kind of our conversation today or our plans.
No, I think you pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, I think you covered it all. I think the important thing is when it's time to talk about the requests, to have them together so you can judge all at the same time instead of having to, you know, in the fall say, oh, that travel's okay, and then in the spring, well, I don't know about that travel. Well, all travel is the same, and they all should be given value at the same time. But that being said, also with special events, or not special events, but events themselves, it's important to, but that's our ultimate goal with this money, is to have the broadest base use of that money. So when you have a budget, let's say it's $300,000, and most of that money should be going to support events on campus for students. And just, yeah. Anyways, so thanks everybody.
Thanks, Eric. The other reports that I have is really just as a kind of a follow-up to the email Aubrey sent out earlier today. Just the feedback and recommendation form that I sent out each of you. If you get the chance, if you can fill that out just with your kind of feedback individually on things that went well this year, things that you viewed as challenges, and then just recommendations. Either recommendations for next year's committee or recommendations for me on how to either address or avoid some of the challenges we faced. I would appreciate that. I take all of that data, I keep it private, so I'm not sharing saying Greg gave me this feedback on here. But I go through and I look through all of it and put it into my end of the year report that I send up to the provost office on so it's not just what went well and what are recommendations, it's really your all's individually. Not only do I put it in the end of the year report, but I also collate that to share with the committee in the fall. So I would really appreciate any feedback, recommendations you all can give and shoot to me here before the end of the academic quarter, so I can get a chance to put that together. So yeah, any thoughts and stuff on that, greatly appreciated on that end. Otherwise, the only other report I have is I just want to thank you all. I know it's our last business meeting. There's one other item on the agenda that I'll give information on. But to officially put in there just that I appreciate all the work that you all have put in this year. Again, I've been advising this committee for several years now, and I'll say that this year was probably some of the most thoughtful conversations and discussions, especially outside of a base funding year. You all did a great job of delving into and looking at ways we can improve our process, looking at some complex challenges that face the committee, and doing a good job of having those conversations very open and candidly. And I appreciate that. It has been very involved on everyone's end within the committee. And I think that's what makes this committee great and what I look forward to. And so I want to thank all of you for your participation. I know Martin's not here, but it would be his last. He's off of the committee. Greg will be back. As far as Josh and I know, Josh will be back unless he's told otherwise. And so I appreciate all of that. And I know some of you on the student end are graduating and leaving, and so won't necessarily be back, but I really appreciate it, especially because many of you have served for multiple years and have done a great job. And for those of you who are going to be around next year, would love if you want to come back. It would be great to have some thoughts and feedback with perspective to welcome in our new members as well. So I just want to say that on my end. Thank you all. And that's all I got.
Well, I would obviously mimic what Joey has said. I appreciate working with all of you, even though the last quarter has been a little different than we normally have operated. So adjusting to that, I know is challenging, but you guys just jumped right in and did what you need to do. So that's really appreciated on my side of things. Other than that, I just wanted to give a quick update that we are working through the funding requests that have been approved and making sure those are all tightened up by the end of the fiscal year. We're working on some communication. There's some areas that haven't communicated at all, probably due to either the changes with COVID-19 and the impact that might have had on them personally. So we will keep documenting that and then be able to report the final financial situation for the S&A committee, most likely in July. So depending on when the committee gets appointed, it'll be the next appointments.
I have a question for you, Lacey.
Mhm.
Does that include the uniforms for mariachi? Was that one of the approved funding requests, or is that still on hold because of the spending freeze?
So there's a little bit of difference. Currently, right now, it is approved to be funded, but I haven't heard that it's actually going to happen. So those are the types of things that we're trying to get kind of official communication on. But it's really those that either happened right around spring break or the ones that were, kind of forecasted to be in the summer.
Thank you.
All right. End of reports. Sweet. All right. With that, we'll move to public comment. First call. Does anyone have any public comment to make at this time? Eric?
Yeah, everyone. I want to tell you all, especially Joey and Lacey, it's been a pleasure working with you these past 3 years. Aubrey, you've been great too. It's been quite an experience, and I hope to take what I've learned here off into the future when I'm working with college students on campuses far and wide, right? So thanks a lot. I appreciate you all, and I hope wherever your paths take you, you go forth.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Any other public comment? Seeing none. Move on to, I guess, new business. Seeing none in there. Go to old business. Program review follow-up. Joey?
Yeah, and this is really just a follow-up. The one question, and I have to look back at the minutes. I think Dane asked the question, but now I can't recall. But someone was asking the question about, from the university centers, their program review, their student ambassador position, and whether that was correlated or the same as the ambassadors who do the tours and activities. And so I reached out to Lauren Hibbs, their executive director, and she really sent me a response back, which I'll just share with the committee. And I just emailed it to you, Aubrey, so you don't have to worry about writing word for word what I say right now. Her response back in terms of, is this the same position or same positions, is she said, not fully knowing the role of the ambassador that I'm referring to, she gave really kind of the job description of their student ambassadors. And so I'll just share that for reference, and it's in a bullet point. So student ambassadors, 1, assist with welcome and reception duties in the CWU Center by answering phones and providing program information to potential students. 2, assist CW students by answering questions or making referrals to advising, financial aid, or other appropriate student services. 3, maintain CW classroom warmth and cleanliness. 4, market and promote center programs through promotional tables and roving throughout host college campuses. Next, assist with the new student orientation quarterly. Next, maintain confidential records according to FERPA guidelines. Create and maintain assigned bulletin boards throughout the center. And finally, attend weekly meetings and trainings as designated by the regional director. And so she didn't necessarily know the role of the ambassador positions that we were referencing. And so that was the response back that was shared for that program review. So I don't know if there's any other questions or conversation as that response kind of elicited, but wanted to share that with you all.
Sweet. Thanks, Joey. That would wrap up old business, which would now go to other business. Communications received. Haven't really received much communication, but I could tell you for sure, since this year's election season, a lot more people are going to be paying attention to S&A and committees. So I'm definitely interested to see how that goes, because that's the type of communication I've been receiving over the last 2 weeks. Joey or Lacey?
I haven't received any other. I mean, I'll share with you all because you all want us to be here. When I submit my report to the provost office by the end of June, we always get a response back after they review kind of our statement and our records and everything. And typically is a positive statement. And I'll have that and I'll share it with the committee officially on the record in the fall, but it's going to relate to you all and be thanking you all for your exemplary work and diligence in overseeing the budget and things. So just wanted you to know that in advance, that that's what we're anticipating to get.
Lacey?
I do not have any communication.
Awesome. All right, with that, we'll move to public comment, second call. Joey?
The only two pieces I have is one, just as a reminder for those students on here, if you haven't voted, go and vote in the student elections. It closes tomorrow, as we referenced earlier, I think before the meeting started. And then two, other than that, again, I want to thank you all for being so adaptable this quarter, not only to these meetings, but especially to everyone's changes in class and work environments and things like that. Best of luck with finals coming up and everything you all are doing after that.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other public comment? Yeah, seeing none. I guess just to add on to that, just feeling like being the chair this year, I've seen a lot of incredible change that I don't think really has happened in the past years. So I really want to just thank you all for kind of the ideas and the leadership that you all brought this year. It was really cool to see. When I think about it, I think this year was like a real culture change that will definitely cultivate and grow for years to come. So I'm really excited to see that, and I'm glad that I had this opportunity to be with you all this year to really ignite that change. And I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. Hopefully I can stay in touch with all of you, whether that's over social media or at school next year, however that may look. But I just want you all to know that I thank you all for the time that you've committed to this and the ideas that you brought, and I guess just being amazing people that you are. But yeah, so that's my 2 cents on the thank you train. But anyone else have a public comment at this time? All right.
Thanks for, yeah, I do. Can I be called on?
Yeah, go for it, Josh.
Thank you so much for letting me be part of this committee this year. I guess, well, maybe it wasn't your choice to let me be part of it. So let me phrase that. Thank you for welcoming me to this committee and being such a welcoming group and helping me get up to speed with everything S&A and all the issues that students and you all are interested in doing and bringing to the table. I am an appointed member of this group, and if I have anything to say about it, I'll request the appointment again next year, because I really enjoy hearing about the concerns from everyone around the table and being part of that, and just hearing about your experience at Central. I think it helps me do my job better and helps me serve not just new students, but continuing students better. So thank you all for welcoming me, and it's been such a pleasure serving with you this academic year.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Anyone else? All right. With that, we'll move to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Oh, Dane, Ed, or Eric, is that a second?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, all those in favor of adjourning the meeting, just raise your hand. Awesome.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Yeah, thank you all.
Good
I
luck
adjourn
with
this
your
meeting.
finals.